I had a really conservative family growing up. And when I say conservative, I mean really, really conservative to the point of an extreme. My parents had set out rules and restrictions, framed them, and put it up in the walls of my room, kitchen, and even the living area. The rules were what I was supposed to do in and outside of the house and about my academics. There was literally a rule for me to get a certain grade, and the restrictions about the clothes and the time I could stay outside of the house, which was just an hour after school. Because of all that, I turned out to be a total introverted nerd. And school on top of that was awful. But before we move on, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and activate the notification bell, and you will soon get good news. Trust me, it works. I didn't have any friends and was totally invisible. However, I did like this cute guy Dean, but he was one of the popular guys, so he wouldn't even notice me. And I too didn't have the courage even to look at him directly, just a peek here and there, so approaching to talk to him was impossible. There were other guys in school too, but I was never interested in anyone else at all. It was also because I didn't want to go against my parents, as they had restricted me to have a boyfriend. And I worshipped my parents. They provided for me, so I was very grateful towards them. And because of that reason, I did whatever they asked me to. I never stayed out late after school. I never tried making any friends or going out to parties like other kids used to. And I always got good grades ever since I started school. Also, I even used to wear clothes picked out by my mom only, which were pretty conservative, as you might have already guessed. In the same way, like a good child I was, I always helped around the house. My favorite activity at home was baking out of all, and not to brag, but I was really good at it. So my mom and dad were very satisfied with how I turned out to be. Whenever we had guests over, my mom especially would always speak of me proudly. "My daughter Freya is a child every parent would dream of having. I'll bet you on that," she would say. However, things did not always remain the same, and I got to know that after something happened that changed my life forever. One morning, as soon as I woke up, I started getting sick out of nowhere. It was unusual because I hadn't eaten any bad food or anything the other night, but then I was fine about 20 minutes or so later, so I didn't think much of it. But then, the same thing happened to me continuously the other day, and the next day after that. However, I didn't feel like telling my parents because I didn't want to trouble them. But after a week since I started getting sick in the mornings, my mom started questioning me, and she heard sounds of me vomiting in the bathroom. So I told her that I'd been getting sick in the mornings for the last 7 days. "It's not a big deal, Mom. I feel okay just minutes after," I told her, trying not to worry her. "Are you regular with your periods?" she asked, and at first I thought it was funny, but then I realized that she was serious. And I started getting scared because I had not gotten my period for 1.5 months. I was afraid she would assume I was pregnant, which was impossible, but I thought she knew me, so I told her the truth about my periods. Then, suddenly, I could see my mother's face clouded with disappointment. "We're going to the doctor's tomorrow," she said, and stormed off out of my room. She didn't even talk to me the whole day, so I knew she was mad. So the day after that, we drove to the doctor's at noon. My mom didn't speak to me throughout the drive as well, but kept on giving me the disappointed look. I could feel her eyes on me. Like that, we reached the clinic and waited outside for our appointment turn. Immediately after, the nurse called out my name and took me in for an examination. After the checkup, we drove back home and waited for the results. We were supposed to get a call from the clinic when the checkup report was ready, but it never came. We waited for 2 days and still no calls from the clinic. So my mom got furious and we both drove back to the clinic to get my checkup results. "We were supposed to get a call from the clinic yesterday," she started shouting as soon as we got in. I knew she was furious, and the nurse there did too, so she sat and calmed her down first. Then she went to get my results. Seeing my mom furious like that, I was getting a little scared, and right then the nurse came back with the results and dropped a bomb on my head. "The report says you're pregnant," she said, and instantly my whole world shattered. How could that be possible? I thought. I was scared, confused, and shocked at the same time because I had never even had a boyfriend. I had not even kissed a boy in my life. So I wanted to question the nurse about it further, but my mom started screaming at me and didn't even let me put forth any queries and drove me straight home. However, she didn't stop screaming at me throughout the drive. "Whose baby is it? What did you do? I had never thought you would bring such disappointment to the family. You're a disgrace," she said, and I wanted to tell her that I never had a boyfriend, but the things she said were so hurtful that I started crying instead. When we reached home, she was still very angry and completely stopped talking to me, and even my dad stopped talking to me. They made such a big deal out of it that the whole neighborhood found out in less than a day, and I hadn't even gotten a chance to explain things to my parents. And the worst part was one I had never seen coming. My school also knew about it, and it brought me so much unwanted attention. Before, I used to be invisible, which was so much better than all the attention I was getting, because it was not a good kind of attention. Some mean popular girls in the school started bullying me because of that, especially this girl named Heather. She used to corner me with her friends and call me inappropriate names and continuously question about whose baby it was, which made me so uncomfortable. "Freya, the damn girl got pregnant," she used to say in a mean way, and all of her other friends would laugh at me. Even the cute guy I liked would make jokes about me and laugh with his friends when I was passing by them in the school hallway. And that was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't handle the cold treatment at home and being treated like that in school. It was especially bad because I didn't have any friends to talk to, not a single shoulder to cry on, and not a single person to confide in. So I decided to take a huge step. I thought every possible idea through and set my mind to run away. For that, I packed a few of my things, a little money I had saved for years, and left my house. It was the first time I had ever broken my parents' rules, but I felt so light when I stepped out of the house and got into a bus for another town. It wasn't as easy though, as I had very little money and nowhere to go. Somewhere in my heart, I was still praying that my parents would realize what they had done and come and get me. But it didn't happen. So I started looking for a job as soon as I got there, and luckily I got one very quickly. It was at a bakery. As I already told you, I was very good at baking. I had to go through a small baking exam where I made my parents' favorite chocolate cake, and I got the job. The owner of the bakery was a nice lady who looked just some years younger than my mom. She was so nice and kind to me. She was also very open-minded and even offered me a place to stay. I then told her everything about me, my parents, everything that had happened, and the reason I ran away. I told her how I found out I was pregnant, but I had never had a boyfriend. After hearing my entire story, she made a weird face and said, "Something isn't right, and it's basic biology. I'll take you to the doctor myself tomorrow." When she said that, I felt like crying because a lady I had just met trusted me more than my parents, who knew me my whole life. So the next day she drove me to another clinic and I went through some tests again. This time we got the test results rather quickly, and it was a relief and a shock both at once. The relief was that I was not pregnant, and honestly it wasn't possible, and the shock was that I had some problem with my ovaries, which was causing me to get sick and miss periods. The doctor suggested that I get the treatment as soon as possible, but I didn't have the money. But then the kind lady stepped up and told me that she would pay for all the treatment required. I was so happy and emotional. I thanked her and told her that I would repay her by working for her in the bakery for free. But she was smarter than I thought. "I have a better idea," she said, and told me that I could sue the previous clinic for misdiagnosis and carelessness. And that was exactly what I did. I filed a lawsuit against them because clearly they were careless with my test results, which could have gotten me into serious health problems. And the pregnancy news wasn't pleasant either, and all the things I had to face after that. The cases didn't reach a conclusion for 2 months. Until then, I had undergone all the treatments and was in good shape. After 2 months, the case reached the end and I won the lawsuit very easily. Like that, I got a lot of money from the clinic, which was overwhelming, to be honest. But then my parents came to me begging to forgive them and go back home with them. I was clearly unhappy with them for treating me the way they did and not trusting me, but I was indeed a good child, so I forgave them. However, I wasn't going anywhere with them. "You disowned me for the mistake I didn't even make," I told them. "We know, and we're really sorry. We love you. Please come home with us," my mom replied. But that was not going to happen. I liked living freely without any rules and restrictions, and finally, I had the money to do that. So I sent them back. After that, I paid back the kind lady for all that she had done for my treatment. Then she offered to invest in the bakery and become a co-owner so that we could run the bakery together. And honestly, it was the best idea ever. So I invested in the bakery and started living my life on my own with my own rules. After that, I grew more and more confident. I also rejoined the school, and because of my confidence, the mean girls couldn't hurt me at all. Then my teacher suggested that I write a book about my experience. It wasn't easy and took a whole year to conceptualize it, but then I did it and came up with a book that people seemed to enjoy. After that, my life got better and better, and with multiple sources of earnings, I even bought a house and started living happily after that. Thanks for watching. Do you have rules that you need to follow in your house? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos on the channel.